Roger Federer's lengthy, storied career has recently come to an end, and he can now enjoy a much-deserved retirement. In the wake of this, many stats have come out about him, but the one we're going to be talking about today might be the most stunning and the most telling of how prolific a player he really is. And we'll be letting you in on all the details as the video progresses, so be sure to stick around till the end. When did Federer retire, and what kind of records might he be leaving behind? It was a little over a month ago now that Roger Federer decided to call time on his long and historic, storied career. He made the announcement through a lengthy video clip shown on his social media account, later followed by a published letter. He explained the reasons for his departure from the sport that made him famous, and the sport that he helped make more popular in kind, citing reasons such as his nagging injuries. He finished his speech by saying that his career would conclude with his final match taking place at the Levay Cup, a tournament pitting Team Europe against Team USA in a special 3-day challenge, something that Federer himself had a hand in creating. He teamed up with longtime friend and rival Rafael Nadal in a doubles bout, which ended up being his swan song from the sport and the final match for the legendary Swiss champion. When he made his announcement, among the many emotional responses, many statisticians and math nerds of the tennis world began espousing the many crazy stats that Federer leaves in his wake. Now that these numbers are essentially finalized, barring an unforeseen return, people began talking more and more about the records that he holds. And these range from the consecutive amount of weeks he spent at the top, and that'd be 237 straight weeks, where he was ranked number 1 men's tennis player in the world. Incidentally, to the remarkably number of times he's won the finals of a Grand Slam, holding the record for men's singles Wimbledon titles at 8, a record-tying 5 wins when it comes to the US Open, and a record for year-end championships was 6. The numbers are wild when it comes to Federer, with many still recounting the dozens of battles he had against longtime rivals like Nadal and Novak Djokovic and Andy Murray, etc. However, among these stats, one took a while for someone to realize. Fascinating trivia bit that we just could not help but want to share with you. What is this wild stat that speaks volumes about Federer's longevity? It's come to light recently that Roger Federer has accidentally accomplished a pretty staggering feat in his lengthy career. He has at one time or another faced off with at least one professional tennis player who was born in every single year ranging from 1968 all the way up to 2000. Nope, you didn't hear us wrong there. He's been matched up with several complete generations worth of opponents in his 20 plus years in professional tennis. From the old diehards of yesteryear to the youthful up-and-comers of today, he seemingly played against them all at one time or another. The oldest player that he faced, the class of 1968 as it were, would be Francisco Clavé. Now 53 years old, he found himself on the opposite side of the net from a very young Federer in the early stages of his pro career. They clashed at the Masters 1000 in the year 2000. From there, the 20-time Grand Slam winner has had matches with at least one tennis player born in each year from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Naturally, the generations from the 80s aren't surprising since that's where Federer himself comes from. Nadal was born in 86, Djokovic and Murray were born in 87. A video detailing his stat posted on Tennis TV's Twitter account, it shows the list in order. And again, remember, they only have to list one opponent of Federer's from each year, so it's not like he only played one for any of those given years. 68 is Clavé, as we mentioned. The lucky man to be born in 1969 is Cedric Pioline, and breaking in the 70s is Andre Agassi. From there, we have Pete Sampras, Michael Chang, Jerome Goldmark, Tim Henman, and Yuri Novak, making up 71, 75. Carlos Moya, Guillermo Canas, Tommy Haas, and Ivo Karlovic round out the 70s. Murat Safin was born in 1980, kicking off that decade, and the list goes on and on with names that will probably sound more familiar as we go. For 1981, they list Leighton Hewitt. Andy Roddick found his way on there, having been born in 82. Fernando Verdasco, Robin Soderling, and Stan Wawrinka make up 83 to 85. We already mentioned some of Federer's key rivals represent 86 and 87. Juan Martin Del Porto and Kai Nishikori finished off the 80s from there, leaving just one decade left to conquer. With the dawn of the millennials came Milos Raonic in 1990, followed by Grigor Dimitrov, born in 91. 1992 brought about Jack Sock, and one of the two men who he faced off against Federer in his final match. And from there, the list continues with Dominic Thiem and Ilya Ivashka in 93 and 94 respectively. Multi-time ATP title holder Nick Kyrgios swings in to represent 95. And the 90s just keep on rolling with Daniil Medvedev and Alexander Zverev, repping 96 through 97. Then we have Federer's other opponent in his last match, Francis Tiafoe, born in 1998. And closing out the 90s is Denis Shapovalov, and to round out everything, the youngest player that Federer has ever faced off against in a professional tennis match is Felix Auger-Aliassime, who was born in 2000. And that list is absolutely buck wild and really goes to show just how long he's been around and how prolific he's been. It's really just a sampling of the number of opponents he's faced throughout the years. What other Federer news is out there right now? Well, it's probably no no surprise to you that we've recently been putting out tons of Federer content as the world of tennis looks to give him a worthy send-off after his nearly 25-year career finally comes to a close. We're happy to point to you several other videos out there featuring various stories about him, and in particular, stories about his final match at the 2022 Levay Cup. Frances Tiafoe was asked a rather silly question about whether or not he apologized to Federer following the match in which he and Jack Sock put an end to his days as a professional tennis player, and the young man had a very unexpected reaction, turning the question on its head. If you'd like to hear what his response was, we urge you to seek that video out. It's really quite entertaining. Another such video of ours we'd like to point you to similarly focuses on the younger generation. In this case, the man who closed out our earlier list, Felix Auger-Aliassime, is a young man full of potential, something he proved by ousting Novak Djokovic at the very same Levay Cup competition. And at that event, he was interviewed and revealed that Federer actually took the time after his match to seek him out and speak to him. Just what did the legend have to say to the youngest man he'd ever played on the court? It's a pretty sweet story and a recommended watch for sure. Go check that out. Lastly, we have another stat-focused video much like this one, and that goes into what it might be the one regret Roger Federer has in his career. And that regret would be the way his series with Novak Djokovic went. Just what are the numbers there, and why might it haunt Federer now that his career and his rivalry with Djokovic has come to an end? Once more, check out that video for all the details. What other news is going on in the world of tennis? Well, Rafael Nadal has been very active of late. He hasn't played a tour match since the US Open, where he dropped out early to Frances Tiafoe, the guy who seems to have the legend's number right now. The Levay Cup aside, he's been sporadic in activity, even withdrawing from that tournament after his famed doubles match alongside Federer, citing personal reasons. And this has been partly due to injuries, and partly due to the fact that he and his wife, Mary Perello, recently welcomed their firstborn child into the world. As such, his status for upcoming tournaments has been murky, but it's been made known that Rafael Nadal will indeed be playing at the Paris Masters, and from there, he'll be headed to the ATP Finals. Recent setbacks aside, he's had quite the 22 season, winning the Australia Open, Roland Garros, and making it as far as the semis at Wimbledon. Should he be healthy and focused, he'll have a good shot as anyone at winning these year-ending tournaments and closing out the season on a high. And that's all the time we have for today's video. Can you believe that Federer has faced off with opponents from every single year from 68 all the way up to 2000? That's 33 years worth of opponents there. It's really quite mind-blowing when you step back and think about how long you have to be playing to make that happen. Do you expect Federer to ever make a comeback to professional tennis so he can add a few more generations to that list in the future? Be sure to let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching.